Hello and welcome to Face to Face on Channel 1 Television. My name is Umaru Sandamado. This is a show where we do the interviews that matter for you, interviews that border on the big issues of the nation. My name is Umaru Sandamado. My guest today is a member of the governing party in charge of communication. We'll communicate the Breaking the Eight agenda here. Please stay with us. Grateful that you join us for Face to Face here on Channel 1 Television. My guest is Richard Ahiagbah. He's Director of Communications of the governing New Patriotic Party. He is part of the party that is planning to do what has not been done since 1992, where a party serves more than 2 terms in office. They call it Breaking the Eight. That's a slogan they're using. The Vice President is the torchbearer of the party as they move into this particular election. And they're going against former President John Mahama, a man who has been president before, who says that the economy has broken down completely, and for which reason there's no need to allow the Breaking the Eight agenda to proceed. Richard, you're welcome to Face to Face.
Thank you, my brother.
How are you?
I'm well, Amaro.
It's the first time seeing you since your accident. How are you feeling?
Well, I'm okay. I'm okay. By the grace of God, I feel better than I felt some weeks ago.
Without trying to sound like a psychologist,
Yeah.
do you remember what happened?
Well, yes, and I thank God I was very conscious through it all. But Omar, give me just a few minutes before we get into that to just make some acknowledgements of people who have been very pivotal in this few weeks, getting on to 2 months now when this whole thing happened. I think I'll know in no particular order, but I think intentionally I will start with His Excellency the President. He's shown that he's a father. He has kept in touch through the structures, and himself was very useful to the processes that led to my healing and my sitting here today. The Chief of Staff has been very instrumental in that process. The regional chairman for Ashanti region, Chairman Wuntumi, immediately, I think the morning after the accident, that was Saturday morning, he was there and has kept in touch, came several times to see. There were instances he came there, had snoozed off, and then he came just to be able to make sure that things were happening. The Confanoche, I indicated a while ago that I owe them a debt of support. The leadership of the team led by Dr. Charles Daly, Dr. Roland Azoliade, a host of doctors, the CEO, Professor Ademensa, and the management team. They have been very instrumental. A body of young doctors, nurses did very excellent work. There's a lot we have to do. It still needs to be done, but I am grateful to them for what role they played in bringing me to this point. My very present and able assistant and partner, Mr. Emmanuel Mensah, has been by my bedside from the morning of the accident till we were discharged, and still is today. So, but then to the larger country, I think that has been a moment of finding out that whilst a lot of things divide us, a lot of things also connects us. The outpouring of love and support has been overwhelming. I'm grateful to everyone.
So it was a road trip. Were you were coming from the Ashanti region to Greater Accra?
I was heading to Ashanti region.
Okay, from here.
Accra, yeah.
Was it in the night?
Yeah, it was in the night. I think that day is a typical Friday night, so there was a lot of traffic. I left Accra around about 10, heading to Kumasi. So I think it was around 1 thereabout in the morning, just about on the outskirts of Konongo, near Eduapompo, was where it happened.
Were you driving or you were being driven?
I was driving. I was the only one in the car. I was driving myself to Kumasi. Apparently, I was supposed to fly the following day, but then later on we're checking and it looks as if we might not be able to get on the flight. The standby situation was getting a bit crowded. And so we decided that, okay, well, I needed to be there in the morning. So my assistant and the driver, they had actually taken the lead, so I had to
follow them.
Yeah, I was driving myself, and it happened on the way.
It wasn't a head-on collision?
No, it wasn't a head-on collision, but somehow you would say it was a rare accident. So I was driving behind a vehicle that had been parked in the middle of the road.
Without warnings?
Without any demarcations, nothing whatsoever. They were taking about 3 trailers in a row and was fixing to get back into my lane and had indicated and got in, and in a split second, what I saw was a brief moment of darkness and the impact. I didn't see that vehicle there. There was no reflectors, nothing to indicate that there was an obstacle there. So just getting back into my lane, I run into it.
That's and thank God for your life, but that appears to be what happens a lot of the times on these our roads. I don't know, having gone through that, are you going to do some advocacy for one dualizing our roads? And also, there was this agenda to 2 trailers on our major highways. That agenda failed many years ago. And these trailers that are parked without warning, and the fact that the roads are not dualized, I don't know, what do you make of it? You think that's something we should reignite the debate?
Well, certainly. There's a lot of advocacy that is necessary. In fact, on the road safety situation, after I came back home from the hospital, I met with the Road Safety Commission people. The leadership came, and we had a very frank conversation about what needs to be done and what their efforts are, what their challenges are. And we've agreed that there should be some partnership from the larger population in support of what they are doing. And recently there was this law in Parliament that got scuttled by the MPs wanting a siren and the rest of it. Actually, based on that conversation, I came to know fully what they were trying to do. The idea of bringing back, these toll services on our road was part of that bill. That essentially, that was the goal of the bill, to try and improve safety on our roads, and somehow it just ended up being scuttled because of this MP's insertion, which I think Honorable Dominic Kaine accept responsibility. He wanted to get those in there. But that was the goal. So I encouraged them to try and, work with Parliament to take that aspect out and make sure that that law comes in. It opened the space for our roads to be cleared. Elsewhere, you can't just leave your car on the road unattended for a period of time. Before you know it, it'll either be towed for you to go back and pounded for you to go and pay for it. We sit and talk about revenue for district assemblies. This is a revenue earner for them. It's a lifesaver and a revenue earner. So when people don't want to comply with the law, then they suffer the penalty.
There's another issue of street lights. If the road was lit, I'm sure you would have seen the trailer from afar.
Well, I can agree with that. It's not something I would debate, but that is work in progress. Ultimately, there need to be multiple things that we have to do at the same time. But at minimum, what the law requires is that you must properly have your vehicle lit, and reflectors and all of those things are contributing factors that would make the road safe. So at minimum, if you're a driver, you're a vehicle owner on the road, you should ensure that those are there. And the other layer of questioning I guess you should ask is the police on the road. They see these things, they wave them past, do so casually. Why are they doing that? So it's a multi effort that we need, not only maybe looking at government to do this or to do that, but us as a society, we must approach it as a common issue that all of us must play.
But as a member of the government, the party that is in government, clearly there should be something you should take away from there. Would you push for the dualization to be completed? Would you push for the street lighting regime, or you would push for more policing on the roads, or you would push for responsible driving? Which one would be your biggest takeaway out of these things I've mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, if you use the word government, then you essentially are talking about all of us. So all of the above that you mentioned are things that we have to do. By and large, most of those things are required by law, that people behave in a certain way on the road. At minimum, when we have those in place, the dualization of the road, I think, is a commitment that the government has, but it is directly linked to resource availability. But I think under this president, we have seen significant improvement, where from Nsawam now you can drive all the way to Apeja Junction. It's been dualized. The continuation is something that is being worked on. We need to do that. I think that from here to Kumasi, that road needs to be dualized. And I think it's a commitment this government has. I'm very confident that the next administration, I guess we'll get to those conversations at some point, which will be the administration led by Dr. Mahmoud Baomi. I'm very confident about that. Would do the necessary investment to ensure that from Accra to Kumasi ought to be a dualized road.
Let's talk about what happens after the accident immediately. I don't know how you were conveyed from where you were conveyed to the hospital. Talk to us about that. The first responders, our ambulance service. I don't know how you were rescued from the car. I don't know whether it was a bad situation. The car had to be cut, fire service, and you have to come in. The responses you got at the hospital, the no bed syndrome, those things. Because that's typically what happens. So that's the chain.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that other side of the chain.
Well, I think the accident at the scene, it was a police patrol vehicle that came. I think they were around patrolling along the way, but they're based in Agogo. They came. I think I pay respect to the the inspector who was patrolling with one other officer that morning. Inspector was saying, I think some vehicles heading to Accra informed them about the accident, so they came and found me and then took me to the hospital. They had wanted to call the ambulance. I told them it's okay, we should just ride in their car, and then we went to Konfanoche. Upon arriving at the hospital, the usual intake process, went to the emergency, a few interrogations to ascertain that I am, conscious and things of that nature. And then we're taken through the process of admission and all of that. It's been an eye-opener, indeed, for me, that there's a lot we have to do on that front. And I think, as I've indicated, I am going to focus a lot more on that to try and see how, in addition to government investment, what are we doing as citizens and as stakeholders in the health delivery system to ensure that what structures are put in place and investments have been made are actually yielding the needed health outcomes that people deserve when they go to hospitals. So it's on one level the investment, and on the other level the operationalization of that investment to translate into health outcomes for people. And that's where, for me, there's a gap that we need to look at. That notwithstanding the investment, there is some limitations there that is affecting optimal delivery of health service for people. But all in all, I think that it's worked well, but a lot remains to be done.
So what would you immediately say needs to be done in our health infrastructure system? What gaps did you identify that you think should be fixed?
So in terms of, infrastructure largely, with the environment that I was in, the infrastructure is not to question. Where you're looking at instrumentation or equipment to be able to work, and also the people interfacing with the system have the presence of mind. What I notice is that throughout the day, these medical staff from doctors to nurses and those in the laboratory, they are overworked. They are tired, largely. You see them at some point visibly tired, and it affects their delivery. The idea of trying to make sure that they are optimal, they are ready and able to deliver, that for me is a key thing that needs to be looked at. But principally, infrastructure is not a problem, but the key thing for me is how we make sure that our equipments are working, and people who are working with that equipment are of a certain disposition that gives them the space to be able to give off their best. That for me is something that needs to be looked at. It's a management issue. It's not necessarily a policy issue, but it's a management issue.
But there's a policy part that has to be dealt with, which is the fact that we have trained nurses with our own money and yet we are not posting them. Your government is culpable, as previous governments. The backlog of nurses that have not been posted, doctors who have not been posted, they have to leave and go get posted or working in other countries. This should be something that should prick you, and you should, when you go to the discussion table, say that we need to work on that, don't you think?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, the issue of recruiting health workers is evident, and we need to do that. But if you look at this 8 years or 7 years, if you like, that we've been in government, we have recruited a lot more health workers than in recent memory compared to the 80s.
But it's not enough.
Yeah, I understand that. But
There's still a lot of them out there.
Yes, I'm just trying to make the point that it's work in progress, because this really is tied to financing, right? It's not as if the government has the capacity to do it and it's not doing it. So definitely, it's something we have to acknowledge that yes, we have moved forward. A lot more needs to be done, and I can guarantee you that with additional health facilities that are being built, technically more will be recruited. In fact, if you look in our manifesto, which was recently launched for the 2024 election, there's an explicit commitment to recruit more health workers. So that commitment is there. And it's work in progress, and a lot more will be recruited, because ultimately what we're looking for is to be able to provide better quality service in terms of health for our citizens. The government is committed to that. I'm sure you're aware of the national health policy. It is clear in its commitment to say that every person living in Ghana must have access to quality health service, and that emanates from making sure we have the facilities built and ensuring that those facilities are staffed and with people as well as with equipment.
And talking about the facilities, your government promised to build us 111 hospitals as way back as the COVID period. We haven't seen these hospitals. That's a failure.
If you say you haven't seen them...
have you seen one in operation?
Well, you have to build them before they become operational.
Yeah, but
so
you said you would build them in 18 months. That's like forever.
Well, that is the ideal at a time of conceiving that idea. Yeah. But oftentimes when we have this conversation, what I want us to focus on more is that one is the idea of building these hospitals necessary. Right?
Do you think no?
No, I think it's necessary.
Yes, that has been ticked off the box already.
Well, no, but then if we jump and say, well, where are they? Then we also skip the process of building it, right? So first of all, it's a useful idea, very necessary, given what COVID-19 showed us. Our system requires that we have this infrastructure built. So that commitment has been made by a government, and it takes time to be able to do it. Now, what you envisage at the policy conception stage to say that within this period of time we're going to be able to complete this is one thing. The reality in terms of putting blocks on the ground and seeing it get to where it becomes operational is another. So the transitional period from the idea stage and building it, we are in that phase. Now, if you say that you have not seen any being built, then that's a point where we can discuss.
I haven't seen any being operational.
Yes, but
more than 2 years
That's
since
okay.
that promise was made.
The point I am making is that...
And even the existing ones, and I always reference the La General Hospital, which was there before you came.
But La General Hospital...
You came to collapse and you still don't have a place.
I'm coming. La General Hospital typically was not part of the Agenda 111.
No, I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying it's part. I'm just saying that... I'm saying the new... I'm saying the new ones you said you would do, you haven't done. The one that was there too, you destroyed it and you haven't put up a new one.
So that's a separate conversation. So what I want...
And you are the one who likes to do comparison. Mama left for you the Gan East Hospital, the UGMC, the Ridge Hospital, all
the UGMC is a conversation we'll get to it.
The Shai Usudoku District Hospital, all those ones.
You see, that there's been so much misconception, not misconception, but blatant lies being told about that UGMC. That
How?
But the point I want to make to you is that the Agenda 111 is perhaps one, for me, of the biggest health infrastructure that is put on Ghana's agenda.
Which is just an idea. It's not been coming to fruition yet.
No, but every idea goes through gestation.
But it's taking forever.
Well, it has to happen. Is it happening?
No.
Well, I can tell you that it's happening.
Where? Would you have one in the Volta region? You can show me your region.
Yes, of course.
Where?
Ahiagbah, if you go there.
Oh, the Ahiagbah one.
Yes, it's almost done. The last time I went there, it's almost done.
Okay.
The Trede, which is the original site where President commissioned it, that most likely will be completed and commissioned even before the election. Out. But the point I want to make before, if you want to take a break, is clearly to say that this Agenda 111 commitment is one that we have to see as a major health infrastructure investment, one that allows and expands access to healthcare to our people. And for me, we shouldn't reduce the conversation to has it been built, is it complete, it's 18 months, it's not been done. But the point is that the idea is noble, it's necessary, we need it, it's being done.
Okay.
It's a question of finishing it, and the commitment is that before this President Akufo-Addo's term ends, a significant number of them will be commissioned.
Well, this is Face to Face. My guest is Richard Ahiagbah, he's Director of Communications of the NPP. My name is Umaru Sandama. We'll be back to talk about breaking the 8th agenda. Please stay. You're welcome back. This is Channel 1 Television. My name is Umaru Sandama. This show is called Face to Face. My guest is Richard Ahiagbah, Director of Communications of the New Patriotic Party. As we speak, NDC members are on the streets demonstrating. They say that the electoral roll is not healthy. They want it sanitized. They've asked the Electoral Commission to fix it. The EC is not doing it, so they've decided to take the issue to the streets. As a political party, we haven't heard you formally. What's your position on the electoral roll? Is it healthy, or the NDC is making noise where there isn't any?
Well, Omar, I think that if you go to history, or a very recent history, you will see the NDC repudiate their own position that they're on street about today. Everything they are saying today, they were against. They were defending spiritedly the EC, led by the flag bearer, the former President John Dramani Mahama, their General Secretary now, National Chairman of the party. Every one of them in 2016, 2012, they were defending the EC very spiritedly. And so everything they are on the street trying to canvass against or for, they themselves, their utterances negate their actions there. So they don't have the moral capacity, if they want to be honest.
It's only a fool who doesn't change his mind.
Well, if you change your mind, you don't change your principle. You can change your mind, but you live based on principle.
You can change your mind on the principle.
The principle former President Mahama established for us is to say that allow the Electoral Commission to do their job. So why is that principle not applicable today? That you can have your say, but let the EC do their job. If you have any concern, give it to them. That maybe he says, as a matter of principle, that our electoral system, and I think that Chairman Seydou Nketia also made that point, that one will be a fool to assume that our electoral system can't be manipulated by anyone. So really, what has changed? Have we changed the electoral system? Has anything dramatic happened apart from the people who are heading the place? The systems are there.
But the electoral management body, the people who manage that electoral system are the new people. And so maybe the NDC was comfortable with those who were managing affairs at the time, but not comfortable now. That's why the principle is changing.
Well, that's why I say they don't have the moral right, because the electoral system does not depend on who manages it, because that is independent of the people who are there. You can have concerns about the people, but we collectively as a people have built a system that is robust, independent of the individual. In fact, former President Mahama defended that process, defended the electoral system.
Yeah, at the time he probably trusted the system.
But has it changed? That's the question. The people may have changed, but how we do it, for which reason he was confident in 2016 to say that allow the EC to do it. Has that changed? If that has changed, they should say it and show us what has changed about the process.
At the time,
if nothing has changed about the process and it is the people you are not happy with, then it means that it is not a question of principle, it's emotive. It is self-serving. It is parochial. It is designed, in the words of the former president, to say that you want to demonize the referee so you have a way to question the result. So in his own words, which was what he was saying to us in 2016, to say that we don't have any reason to complain, that what we are doing is the usual political demonization of the referee to give us access to question the result. So is that what he is doing? And if that is what he's doing, we shouldn't pay attention to it.
At the time, you were listened to by the Electoral Commission.
To do what?
And they fixed what you said was broken.
Well, no, it was a request for improving the process.
Yes, and they allowed
Now,
you.
what they are asking today has not been done before.
They're asking for an
Right?
audit.
They're asking, yes, they're asking for forensic audit. And I'm saying that you asked for our position. I'm saying our position should just simply be that the EC should work according to the Constitution, according to all applicable laws and precedent.
But that's you also now shifting from your principles of 2016.
No, I haven't shifted. I'm just telling you that in 2016, the EC was not prevented from working according to the dictates of the Constitution.
You went
They
on
were
the
not
streets and
prevented.
demonstrated that they should fix stuff.
I'm coming. I'm not. We are not saying that the EC should not work according to applicable laws. There's been precedent that has been established in this country, in this Fourth Republic. What they are asking for is over and above. It is for me asking that the EC steps aside and then we'll bring a third party to audit the EC. The Constitution established the EC to do its work.
When we did
when you're asking for a forensic audit and all the things they're asking for, in principle, you are saying that the EC step aside, let's bring a third party.
But that has happened before.
I'm not sure where that
In
happened.
election 2012, the KPMG organization was brought in to audit pink sheets. That was the EC stepping aside for an independent auditor to do.
The court case?
Yes, during the election petition. So if it happened
that is a process. That is not an electoral commission task.
And then when you got to the
What are you asking
2016
for?
issue,
I'll be honest.
you were opposed to using the NHIS card for obtaining voter cards.
Yes.
The court said, don't let it happen.
Yeah.
So there have been interventions in the past, and the Electoral Commission at the time have worked to have that
but
done.
that is according to the Constitution.
Yes.
Right? That all of us, the interpretation of the law, the proper understanding of the law is subject to the Supreme Court. So if there is a legal issue, then you go to the Supreme Court and address it. Now, after and above the Supreme Court, if anybody tries anything else, that cannot be constitutional. And so what I'm saying is that our position is that the EC must be allowed to work according to the Constitution, according to applicable laws and precedent. The NDC told us that the process as the EC had deployed from 1992, the referendum, 1993, all along, has not changed. In fact, if anything, they have been improved. They are now more robust to allow for us to deal with all the fears that the political parties have. We have improved the process. If the NDC has a concern, let's use the appropriate medium to address them. But don't tell us that let's set the EC aside and bring some third party because you feel that you are not happy with the process that you yourself defended just recently.
But Richard, if you demonstrated when NDC was in power, because you wanted a good electoral system. If there's a group that is demonstrating today saying that they also want a good electoral system, you should have joined them.
Yeah, but what is the demand they are making?
That fix the electoral system.
Which is what aspect do you want to fix?
The register.
Look, from the register.
Without a good register, you cannot have a good election.
See, this is a very simplistic
They've talked about people whose names have been transferred without their knowledge.
Yeah.
Transfer database not corresponding with the official statistics. Are you not worried as a political party that these problems at the NDC?
I am worried. In fact, I am worried that we go according to a process where ultimately on election day, everybody who has to vote, who are registered and shows up at a police station has their name there and they can vote. That one, we are committed to it. But what we are not interested in, or what I am not interested in, to have as a conversation is that the NDC fancifully decides that we are not happy about this. When the process...
Is it fanciful? They've given figures.
Yes, but the point is that the process has not terminated. The EC is in the process of doing the job. Mm-hmm. And I've asked that what evidence they have, they should give it to them, so they can correct the process. Because really, what we are doing here, you are the one asking the questions, right? I cannot usurp that position, okay? If I'm usurping that position, perhaps you would allow me to do it. But if at a point I want to usurp and it's not proper, you can allow it. I cannot now offer to conclude this interview. You have to do that. So if you feel there's a problem with the process, the person seized with the power to do it, ask you to bring what evidence you have. Because at the end of the day, the person to submit a register that would be legal for us to do the election is the EC. NDC cannot submit a register of its own. So if you have evidence to suggest that what work they are doing is not kosher, then you submit the evidence. They've asked you. You haven't done that. So all you want to do is to create hell and on the streets. In fact, in the words of former President John Dramani Mahama, what they are doing, they know. It's intentional political activity they are doing to up the temperature, to create the impression. Because all this while they've been going about saying that, oh, NPP is colluding with the EC to rig election. The same EC, they say that their system is so robust that nobody can rig election. General Sedun Ketia said that, right? So if that process is so robust, what are we going to do different to the same process that is so robust, nobody can rig it? What are we going to do to it? Because the process will unfold in broad daylight for all of us to see. So which is the part that we have changed? Nothing. So it is much ado about nothing. It is for them a political exercise to demonize the EC and to make the EC appear unpopular, create the perception for Guardians that something untoward is being done. Recently, I think I saw a post, I'm not sure if it is indeed from the former president, saying that let us just win and somebody decide not to hand over power, then we will see. Okay, the anger of the people or something like that. So what they are doing is to dramatize the events leading to the election, create a certain atmosphere that will lend to their grand agenda.
Did they not learn from you?
I'm not sure what
you were out on the streets demonstrating. You have called it "Let my vote count." You have attacked the Electoral Commission, went to court, went on the streets.
But you see, if you look
so what they are doing now, they just learned from the best, haven't they?
No, Omaro. If you look at...
Because how different is your call then from now?
If you look
and what is your principle then, and what's your principle now? It appears that there's a change of your principle.
No.
If you
look at our electoral processes from 1993, after that election, right? 1992, after that election, following the stolen verdict, the ideas that the NPP have moved from that period up until now, all those ideas have led to the improvement of our electoral processes. From where we're using opaque ballot boxes to where we're using voter ID card with thumbprint to where now we have electronic voter ID card. That has been the consistent advance by the New Patriotic Party. So when we are engaged in any advocacy to improve our electoral processes, the issues are clear.
Okay.
Our commitment is that how do we make the system robust so that the outcome of the election can be accepted by all.
Today's demonstration...
But what they are doing is parochial. What you say that, oh, you have seen some name have transferred here, the Electoral Commission is in the process of fixing that problem.
Even you.
The exhibition process is to deal with these matters. So if you have issue with that, you bring it to them to deal with it. It's not a demonstration on the street. That
Even you were accused of engaging in election registration malpractice. The NDC people took you on, that you went to vote without coming from a place. All those challenges. Yeah. I know they've been dealt with, I mean, based on the Facebook post I saw you put up, but it's in your interest that there's no suspicion.
Omaro, yes. You see, for me, I find it very tragic that issue of people write their name and go and vote is so complicated in our country. It's a straightforward matter. Really, it's a straightforward matter. On election day, I will show up there at my polling station in Ahiagbah. I will show there and vote. One vote, that's it, right? So it shouldn't be too complicated to just get people's name to vote. It's a straightforward matter. The fact that we're quibbling about that matter is beyond me today. But, you know, the matter to do with my own registration is just the NDC trying to play up these things.
They were hooting at you at the registration center.
Yeah, because it's their interest. They want to do that. I mean, it's not necessary. My commitment is that I will insist on my right to have my vote on that day. I will have that. They can't do anything about it, and I will have it, right? So I went to register in 2020. There were some issues up and down, and then I tried to fix the matter. I went there to the same voting registration. I didn't go somewhere else. I didn't change my voting center. I didn't go anywhere else. The same place where I was born, where I started voting from when I was a boy. I went back to the same place. Now, if you think anybody want to abuse a process, you go to the same place, abuse the same process. How many times can I vote in the same polling station? You understand? So what's much ado about nothing. The key thing is that the NDC is in over their head. In this whole election, I can't see. I mean, I don't know if you can tell me what their message is except to play on people's emotions and to say that the country is hard, the economy is difficult, which is a matter of fact that the government has admitted, the president has admitted that. Globally, there is evidence that the economic situations across board is difficult. You just saw the US debate recently. It was all about the economy. Right? So the idea that we are going through difficulties is not exclusive to Ghana. But the point is that what is being done about it, and there is evidence that we are moving from a worse place to a much better place. Now, question would be, what is the NDC's own strategy to deal with the difficulties we're in? The idea that this difficulty is created by this government has been debunked. It is a global issue, but now, assuming we're in this situation, what is your strategy? We have not asked the NDC that pointed question, and they themselves have not volunteered their answer to show that in this difficulty, these are the things we are going to do to fix it. This whole talk about, I don't even want to bring that conversation up about 24-hour economy, is for me an insult to our intelligence. It's an insult to tell us that they'll bring 24-hour economy. When you ask them, then they are stammering, they can't tell us, and they are standing in front of us to tell us, Umaru, that 24-hour economy is what they are bringing.
Let's tell you about...
They have not brought any cogent strategy, policy view that will change the situation. And for me, that's what Ghanaians have to bear in mind.
Let's talk about what Ghanaians bear in mind, is that the fuel price, as was left behind by the NDC government, has quadrupled, if not quintupled. The cedi, for those who import, has become weightless, to put it mildly. The water bodies and the forest reserves have been destroyed. All these things are realities that people see. The price of a ball of kinky has changed dramatically. These are things that Ghanaians have seen, and that is what the NDC is saying is wrong, and they have to come back and fix it. You don't have to, I mean, I'm not going to be the one to defend their policies here for you, but these are the stark realities that we are dealing with.
Yes, of
you
course.
have failed the nation.
No, we haven't. We haven't at all. In fact, if anything at all, this new patriotic party government has brought Ghana from the brink. Any number...
But you sent us to that brink.
No, the global misfortune that happened sent us all to that brink.
Really?
The conversation in America, if you listen, I think that is because of the excitement created by the exit of Joe Biden and now Kamala Harris in the race has brought that election closer to us, and we're following, right? You listen to the debate. What are the issues there? It's economic. Inflation in America has hit historic levels. In fact, even just near us, Britain, got to a point they are still demonstrating. Why? Because of the global environment that we're in. The U.S. government increase, I think just recently, the Fed was looking at bringing back interest rate, bringing down interest rate. But otherwise, interest rate went up in the United States consistently. Why? Because they needed to control inflation. Right? The same thing we're doing here. You know, when the Bank of Ghana meets, they have kept the prime rate consistently high. Why? Because they want to reduce the supply of money in the system, and that drives, you know, inflation down. But you think about this. Before we got into all of this thing, in 2019, inflation from 2017, 18, and 19 consistently went down from the 15% inflation that we inherited from the NDC. Went down as far as 7.8.
That's past glory.
But I'm talking about the events that would exacerbate that. Because you saw a trend of reduction, okay, from 15 all the way to 7.8. I have been seeing inflation captured in a band plus or minus 8%. I haven't seen it down below 8% before, but it happened under Akufo-Addo. That inflation went down to 7.8.
But the point is now, that where has that led us?
Yes, you see, Umar, whilst we are here, everything you have set up is working perfectly.
Yeah.
The door is locked and everything. So everything is operating as we have designed it to be. If there is an external factor, okay, that we didn't plan for, just push this door open. It will disrupt what we're doing, right? That's what COVID did. That within the contained environment where we have set everything and is working according to plan, COVID pushed in, which was not planned for.
It's not the recklessness of the people in the government.
No, not at all. People can have reason politically to say
you're cutting you're biting more than you can chew.
I'm not sure what you refer to that way. But I can tell you one thing, that this government had a very ambitious program for this country. And perhaps COVID interrupting unplanned for coming in may have exacerbated some of the planned investments.
Okay.
But that is by no means equal to saying that this government has been reckless at all.
Okay.
If anything, the opposition has been irresponsible and unfair and had not come to the conversation with objective ideas. Hence, they are just throwing up allegations, insulting and besmirching the character of the government and making it appear as if the government is not being responsible.
Galamsey is a big issue. I'll ask Richard Ahiagbah if Galamsey was also caused by the external factors. It looks like it's an internal factor, but I'll ask him to explain that when we come back. Please stay. You're welcome back. This is Face to Face. Richard Ahiagbah, you are from the Volta region. I don't think we don't do a lot of mining from there, so it's only salt you have. I'm not sure there's Galamsey problem in Volta region, but nationally,
you never know.
We are in a big trouble. In 2017, when we as a media house started this campaign, the government took it up. The president put his presidency on the line. 7-8 years on, his presidency that he put on the line, he should have possibly relinquished because the situation has gotten from badder to baddest, if there's anything like that.
Yeah.
It is going to be a big deal for you when people go to the voting booths.
Well, I think Galamsey is a social issue. It's economic. It's something that threatens our common existence. And I think that we ought to fight it as a community of people, not as political parties standing and trying to leverage whatever challenges we have. I think that the NDC cannot absolve itself of responsibility of where we are.
I'm talking about NDC. They left. They left 8 years ago.
Yeah. Well, no, but they are still here.
No, they're not.
They are all transits. Well, let me tell you.
They are not in the Jubilee House.
Let me tell you why they are still influencing. You know, because you saw here in 2020 when we were doing the election, they were leveraging Galamsey as a means to winning the election. We're peddling Galamsey to people, telling them that, oh, vote for us or we come, we'll liberate you to do it.
Why do you let that distract you?
I'm coming. Oh, it didn't distract us. We're focused. But imagine that the NDC won the 2020 election. Can you imagine? After they have made promises to people that vote for John Mahama, when you hear he wins the election, come back here and start, Galamseying. Can you imagine the state will be in today?
There is a
devastating situation.
The reason is that you didn't give the masses the opportunity. You went into Galamsey yourselves, and that's what he's saying he would stop.
But that's an allegation. But a point I want to make is that we have people on record from the NDC, officers of the party, going about showing people who would head the Mineral Commission to facilitate Galamseying for them on the altar that they would vote for the NDC. And I'm saying that imagine a world in which NDC won the 2020 election. We will not be talking about Galamsey being existential. We would have all been, extinguished by Galamsey by now if the NDC had won the 2020 on the point of the promises they made to the people.
Great. So NDC didn't win, and yes, so we haven't seen better.
So the point I was making to you is that what they did and said still have impact, because whilst government is putting policies in place to fix the matter, they are outside throwing stones in it with irresponsible comments that don't help the policy direction. But really, that should not be the focus. I just want to make the point that the people who are leveraging and seeking to benefit from the difficulty created by this Galamsey enterprise are themselves the architects of the difficulty, contributing to it, affecting the potency of government policy to address it. Now, we're looking forward. The challenge that we are facing is Akufo-Addo's commitment has always been to deal with what he inherited. He inherited Galamsey. He didn't create Galamsey. He inherited it. The effort to deal with it has worked to a certain point. We need to intensify that. Now you have community mining, which is taking over from what used to be free for all Galamsey. So a significant number of people who were hitherto Galamseying in the wrong way are now doing community mining. What you want is that progressively to expand the view of community mining and ensure that all those trapped in irresponsible mining, illegal mining, get into that space and be able to do it responsibly. We need to intensify that. The campaign for 2024, led by our flag bearer, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has put forward some very cogent strategies that will deal with that. Look at where gold is a God-given gift for us. We need to leverage it, exploit it responsibly to advance our development. He's saying that he's going to invest in the exploration of gold, investing in the geological service, our investors to try and do that exploration. Finding and discovering those golds and allowing Ghanaians to invest in it. With a mineral development bank that will fund that effort for people. When we get to that point, you are looking at people moving away from the illegality to a responsible mining, because before you can get the funding to be able to go and mine, you have to go through a process, and your financiers will have to know how you're going to responsibly use that money so you can pay them back. That will help us move away from there. Additional efforts that we need to put in place would be how we can make sure the chiefs are focused on ensuring that we win their communities of people who would come in and people who would sneak in by night to try and do this. The communities themselves will take responsibility to prevent some of these things. But as to whether it's a problem, we agree it's a problem. It is being worked on, and I think that if Bawumia becomes president, we'll continuously see that this problem of Galamsey will ease for our country.
You have failed in the economy. You said that it is external factors. You failed in Galamsey. You said it's NDC. What about corruption? You failed in the corruption fight. Who is to blame for that one too?
So let me correct it. We have the economy, we have not failed.
It has failed.
Galamsey, we have not failed.
But where's and failed?
Okay, so that's your view, right?
It's a view of everybody.
That's your view.
And on corruption too, you have failed.
Hold on. That's your view without evidence. But I've shown you, and you have seen, that today, in this country, you are not queuing for fuel. But in Nigeria,
we're not queuing for fuel in the past.
Oh, we queued for fuel in the past. I don't know
which past?
Under John Mahama, we queued for fuel.
Queued where?
Oh yeah, at the filling stations.
Really?
Just tell your guys here they should Google under Mahama whether or not we didn't queue.
Oh really? I don't remember.
Well, why do you have this amnesia suddenly?
No, I don't remember.
You do. But I'm saying that in Nigeria today, people are queuing for it, right? In America, people are tussling for.
So we should be grateful.
No, I'm not saying though. I'm just saying that there's a problem. Right? Recently,
talk to me about corruption.
I'll talk to you about corruption, but I just want to give an example to encapsulate this. What I'm trying to tell you is that the night Friday, the 26th of July, when I got in the car going to Kumasi, I didn't know my life was going to change, but it happened. Right? Now I have to live with it. I am no longer how my mother gave birth to me. I've changed. Right? A lot have changed. So what do I have to do? I have to adjust. I have to continue to do life in new ways that would allow me to be able to achieve my objectives and all of that. Okay. That's what happened. We have improvised. Otherwise, the economy, you knew that, what you call the past glory, was an economy full steam ahead trying to develop. Otherwise, where we would be today would not be here. We would have been much advanced. Ghanaians would be much happier. The objective for us to create more jobs would have been achieved if it
wasn't for COVID.
Yes, it wasn't for COVID.
And also on the Galamsey, if it wasn't for NDC, would have done better.
I didn't say it was the NDC. I'm saying
you said they're the ones throwing stones inside the thing when you're trying to fix it. So I want to know on corruption. Who's to blame? Yourself.
To settle the issues clearly. So on Galamsey, I didn't blame the NDC, but I'm saying that they who have created the problem cannot be the ones to say that others are worsening it. If there was no Galamsey to begin with, there would be no fight against Galamsey. So they created Galamsey, so there's a fight to deal with the Galamsey. Creating the problem is easier, dealing with it is much complicated and complex. So that is the context. That's the context in which I brought the NDC. But the issue about corruption.
That one too is better.
Corruption is a social issue, right? By its nature happens in secrecy and all of that. What this government has done is to try and find a different layer of removing the human interface and make it a process where, because people would not be engaged and collude, you would minimize corruption. And that has been very instrumental. The ports, as it were, you remember former President, may his soul rest in peace, John Ebasata Mills, took that morning or afternoon trip to the port. Why? Because there is an apparent corruption there. Today, you have a situation where, because of the paperless port, you can say for sure that if it exists at all, it's been minimized. That is the effort that this government has made. The introduction of digital interface and trying to do a lot more without human contact and interaction has helped us a long way. And that is something that ought to be commended, and it has significantly impacted the fight against corruption. A lot more needs to be done, and I think that we should continue to dialogue about it and see new ways. But definitely, digitalization has brought us a long way.
We have to end it here. Corruption. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Before we go, I hope you're not fatally injured you're not badly injured. You are fine. You can walk. You're okay.
Yeah.
You're healthy. After the accident, you're good.
I'm recovering.
You're recovering. We wish you all the best, speedy recovery, and all the best in everything that you're doing.
Thank you, Umaru.
That's Richard Ahiagbah. He's Director of Communications of the New Patriotic Party. My name is Umaru Sandamado. This has been Face to Face on Channel 1 TV.